Welcome to the Star Sports Show, and on this edition, we are here with Her Excellency, the France Ambassador to Ghana. She is here to probe on the country's relation with Ghana, her achievements so far, educational opportunities in France for Ghanaians, and a whole lot. Please join me, Mr. Zeke, on the Star Sports Show as we find out the woman behind the office, Her Excellency Anne Sophie Ave. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Hello, Mr. Zeke.
We are so proud and we are really delighted to have you on this show today. And if you could sum it all up for us, who is Anne Sophie Ave? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, growing up in France, and your childhood?
Oh dear, that dates back ages, so that might take a long time. But I currently am the French ambassador to Ghana, which means I'm a senior civil servant. In France. And as you know, ambassadors in France are appointed by the President of the Republic and usually picked up among senior civil servants. So my career as a senior civil servant was in different ministries, transport to start with, and defense. And because I did a lot of inter-ministerial negotiations, I was lucky enough to get to know every single, most ministries. And that helps a lot because when you're an ambassador, you represent all the government, namely all the ministries and every policies that each ministry in France is trying to implement, some of which we are implementing also in the countries where we're posted. So obviously, career-wise, this is quite classical. I'm just a senior civil servant, but I'm not a career diplomat, which might be a bit different. So as for the rest, I think what might be relevant is that I was very lucky to have all sorts of different experiences during my career. I've been an elected member of a local council in France, which gives you a sense of direct contact with people. They've elected you and they expect things from you. And this is what you learn out of it. Is something that you cannot find in books. You really have to experience it. You know, this flavor of the ground, of the people, what they expect, what is their mindset, what is their concerns about. And so that was a very useful experience. I didn't, when I went to do this, I didn't think, oh, that's one more box I'm ticking. I really did that because I felt that it was important to be at the same rhythm, in tune with the people, even not in Paris, but, you know, in Provence. And because I was worried that being a senior civil servant, having access to this circle of power, being among those who make decisions, you suddenly are lifted from the ground and you lose touch with the ground. So that's something that I was very concerned about, and I really wanted to have this contact with the people, and that was in France. And I also worked in the private sector for a moment, which makes my life much easier here in Ghana when we are trying to support some companies, French companies, who want to work here. Because when you've been on their side, you understand what kind of pressure they're going through, what their concerns may be. You know what it is to be a private company, not living on public subsidies, but you know, pressured by the turnover, having employment on your shoulders that you are responsible for, and that's again something you can learn in books, but having lived it, experienced it, it's very helpful, and it enables me to understand and hopefully help them better.
Right. Thank you so much. So, coming to Ghana, what was the experience? What did you get to know about Ghana? And right when you got here, what surprised you the most?
I must make a confession. Like quite a lot of French people, we do not have a clear idea of Ghana. We know Côte d'Ivoire, we know Mali, unfortunately, not always for the best promotional reasons. We know Togo, Benin, we have a lot of these nationals who now live in France or have lived in France for several generations, so these countries ring a bell. But Ghana, quiet, peaceful, no problem. It's somewhere on the map. We can place it, but we didn't really have a strong knowledge about it, and we didn't have a history link.
Right.
So when I was told you are going to Ghana, I was very excited because I love Africa and love West Africa. I used to go to Côte d'Ivoire a lot, but I came with a complete neutral mind about Ghana, so completely open-minded and let's see. Of course, you can't help knowing Côte d'Ivoire, believing that it might be quite the same. And the big astonishment is that it is so different. It is so different. Well, the climate is pretty much the same, but the rest is so different. The mindset, the way you address issues, the way the people behave, the way it's all so different. And I must say I have fallen in love with this country because of the people. They are so welcoming, straightforward, laid back, down to earth, genuine. I think I was looking for a word that would best describe Ghanaians. I think genuine is the word.
Right. Thank you so much. So, growing up, did you always wanted to become an ambassador?
I don't know. I had no idea what I wanted to do, and that reflects a lot. If you look at my career, I've been touching this, touching that, trying this, trying that. I was only driven by the idea that you do well what you like to do. So I always went for jobs or postings or challenges that I thought, that's going to be exciting. And because I was excited by it, because I thought I could make a difference, because I thought I could bring something to the issue. I hopefully did it well, and then people noticed me and say, "Oh, she did that well, so maybe she would be good in something else." And that's how I was actually taken from one job to the other one, always headhunted, to put it this way. And I think that people are better judges of what you do than yourself. So I would be lying if I said when I was young I was dreaming of being an ambassador, and I've worked hard towards that. I had absolutely no idea. I only was lucky enough to have jobs that gave me a very diverse experience that some people, probably the president, minister in France, thought, that might be useful because all the box she ticks, that could be useful as an ambassador to Ghana.
Thank you so much. So you have been here for the past 2 years?
Indeed.
So how has the experience been, your achievement so far as ambassador to France within the past 2 years?
Well, the most frustrating part is, of course, that 2020 has been a COVID year, but we might address that later. So we had really started a new era of cooperation thanks to the visit of the President Macron in 2017. So that was before I arrived. So it's not me, it really is France in Ghana, no matter who actually impersonates it. So my predecessor had started things in line with what the former ambassadors had done, and I'm only, taking the heritage and trying to keep it living and improve it. So this very first official visit of a French president in Ghana since independence, I think was a milestone in the relationship. And we have started thinking how much deeper we could cooperate. Then in July 2019, we had the return presidential visit by President Nana Akufo-Addo to France. And when you have such high-profile visits, you really want to have substance. So we had sort of an inventory of all the areas of cooperation where we could do better, we could do more. We have signed several agreements, some to improve and do more in terms of teaching French to promote the French language, but also to start a cooperation in the area of security and defense. Ghana is safe and peaceful, but you are surrounded by quite unrestful neighbors.
French.
It can be.
Right.
What do you mean French? No, they're just unrestful. They're French speaking, but that is a matter of fact. I don't see any links between the fact that they're French and the fact that they're misbehaving. But don't laugh. No. But as a matter of fact, it's true that they are facing some terrible challenges in terms of fighting terrorism. And of course economic development, and not all of them have reached this maturing democracy state of democracy that Ghana has. So it's important that France supports them and helps them, and along with ECOWAS. And if you allow me just a word about Mali, for instance, we of course are very involved in Mali as a French, as a country, for different reasons, because we want to support, we have those close links, so we are supporting those countries. And when in 2013, the government of Mali was threatened by the spread of terrorism, and they had almost taken over Gao, they called us for help. And we sent troops not to occupy, not to do instead of, but to support the Malian army. And the issue, the challenge is so big that we have now been there for 7 years. Luckily, we have managed to drag along other armies, international, in a huge coalition, also from the region, do some training, because when you have different army cooperating, it's important that they actually communicate and connect, because terrorism has different forms. It's not a regular war like we used to fight, where one country declares war to another one, and they have uniforms that you can identify, and the good ones, like on a football field, the good ones are these color, and the bad ones are these color. It's not like that. Terrorists look like any kind of village person. Some of them are even kids. It's very difficult to say, oh, this one looks like it. They look like everyone else. So it is proving, and they're of course very flexible. They can move very quickly. They're small groups. They divide, spread. It's proven very difficult. So one of the reasons why we are so concerned with what's happening in Mali is that unless there is a stabilization in a very short time, which is a matter of days really, all these armies who have come to support us in the coalition, they might say, let's go, let the French handle it, and that's really what we don't want. This is not a French country. This is a country that has a partnership with France, like 193 countries in the world, that has requested our support, and we were there. But it's important that others join in. So what ECOWAS is doing at the moment, with a very strong determination to try and put the Mali back on track in having a transition government led by civilians, we are very impressed, and it's exactly, it's proving that a regional authority is capable of dealing with the neighbors, because it's your direct interest.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. We've learned so much. And looking at this portfolio, as you picked up this role, has there been any challenges so far?
Oh, every day is a challenge. Every day is a challenge.
What would you term a challenge?
Well, something you have to pay attention to that requires a decision. And if you do it right, then it goes completely unnoticed. But if you do it wrong, it can turn into a nightmare. So there's every day we have challenges. Well, management is a challenge. We have to. I have to run this embassy, and this is different people from different backgrounds, from different ministries. Some are Ghanaians, some are French. And having these people work together in a common understanding, making the most of each other's knowledge and skills, well, that's management, and that's a challenge in itself. As for what you would call the diplomatic work, everything is a challenge. Whatever you want the project you want to run, you have to gather people and make them join in, and then the result is there, and everyone is so happy. But I must say, here in Ghana, the moment you say, okay, I have an idea, we would like to do this, the Ghanaian part, they always say, oh, let's do it.
Right.
If you could expect to say, oh, that might be complicated, let's look at it. No, they're always, okay, let's do it. And it's not just words. They get it done. So it sometimes takes time because, having many people joining in, making sure that everyone is at the same page, sometimes it takes time. I've got an amazing example we had last year. We had the idea that to do something, an event about youth, education, a bit of environment, sports, and solidarity. And we were, what are we going to do? What could we do? And we had this idea of gathering 6 Ghanaian schools plus 2 international schools on a huge sports field, and organize sports competitions and sessions. We had, and we thought we could have the support of Decathlon, and maybe we could introduce a bit of education about healthy food. So we knew that there would be a lot of people to bring into the project, and it was so amazing that they all said yes. Be they ministries, be they the schools, be they the companies who supported us, Decathlon, they lent coaches to do the sports training. It was amazing.
Right.
And we actually, from the idea to the actual event, it was like 6 months.
Wow.
And that is just incredible, because it was a huge success. But this would have not been possible had not every single person who we asked done its part of the job.
Right.
So that's the kind of thing we are trying to do. It doesn't cost much, but it's important for the kids who participate, and it tells a lot about the way we want to cooperate. It sends a few messages like your youth is important. It's the future. They're the ones you need to bet on. Right. Sports is a common language. It's a common passion. Football is definitely a common passion. We owe you some of our best players. When I say you, not you personally, right?
Yeah, I know the country.
We owe Ghana
some
of our best players. We have Marcel Desailly. He was born in Ghana, but Abedi Pelé, he's of course now also French citizen. So, but he's Ghanaian, and we've had quite a few Ghanaians who were amazing football players, and thanks to whom we've won some wonderful cups. I know nothing about football, but I know that the little pride we have in football, we owe partly to African, and some of which being Ghanaians. But when you think Abedi Pelé is still the legend, but the world legend, well, he's French Ghanaian. He is the bridge. He is the link between us. Right. So this event was told more about how we want to cooperate and do things meaningful in areas that are beyond development aid, it's betting on the youth.
Great. Thank you so much. So before we go for the first commercial break, would you like to find out if there were any chances, or if there were a time where you were supposed to take a decision on behalf of your country that looked a little bit impossible, but as an experienced diplomat, you found a way to, go around it?
Well, that's basically every day.
Right.
That's what we are here for, actually. That's what diplomats are here for. We need Ghana's support in many multilateral institutions. We need Ghana as a close partner, also because you are the stable country in West Africa. So we need this close relation to Ghana. The everyday challenge is to show that we want a win-win equal partnership, that we are not in a mindset of we know, we're teaching, we're giving. That's no longer that at all.
Right.
We have so much to learn from you. What you've set up in terms of democracy. Let me give you an example. I visited the prisons, and I've witnessed this Justice for All project that you have, where the court is basically moving into the prisons and having session in prison and doing hearings for people who are have not yet had their trial, but some of them have been there for many years. So this court moves in and studies the cases and sometimes releases them. So it's been there long enough. This is quite unique and quite amazing, because every single country is struggling with overpopulation in prison. And I'm not saying we should take that as an example, but at least we can study it and say, wow, what they're doing, that's very, very interesting. And it's very human rights oriented. So this is kind of some areas where, you know, observing what you're doing is Ghana is very teaching.
Right. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here speaking for the youth, and this is the Star Sports Show. We have been here with Her Excellency Anne Sophie Ave, the France ambassador to Ghana. This is the Star Sports Show. We'll be right back after this break. Don't go anywhere. Right, so ladies and gentlemen, we have been here with Her Excellency Anne Sophie Ave. And before we go, I'll let everybody know that I am also very good in French, maybe a little. Everybody who wants to find out, they'll find out that later. So, Your Excellency.
Hello again.
Right. Would you like to find out about your view on the management of the COVID virus by the Ghanaian authorities and how you are also trying to manage that over here?
Well, being French, we were hit in France before Africa was, and we've had in France, like in the rest of Europe, we were really badly hit. So of course we were, and I think the whole international community, probably the whole Western world, was expecting Africa to be very badly hit for different reasons. And what we can see is that, on the contrary, it's been handled really well. We don't have enough records, statistics. When the crisis is over, it will be time to try and draw conclusions and see why. How on earth was it, luckily, that Africa, at least West Africa, was not as badly hit as Europe was. There might be some environment explanations, there might be some immune system explanations, there might be some demography explanations, because the first people to be hit were the elderly, and overall the population of Ghana is in average much younger than in my old continent. But I also want to believe that the measures that have been put in place very early, at a very early stage, the preparedness that Ghana had to handle this kind of viral situations, because unfortunately, whether directly in Ghana or in the close neighborhood, there have been, unfortunately, some other experiences of bad viruses. So you probably had a higher level of preparedness, but facts are here. The number of dead the death rate is among the lowest in the world.
Right.
Again, it's too early to draw a conclusion, but I must say I feel pretty safe here in Ghana. I noticed that people quite obediently respect the sanitary protocols, most of them. We do not know yet if it's 100% efficient. We do not know if it makes sense in every single situation, but you are following the principle of precaution, and obviously it's working.
Right.
So we feel very safe. But we took the situation very seriously from the very beginning. In this embassy, we decided never to close because I mean, if we run away the moment there is a crisis, there's not much point in being an embassy. So we needed to be the last man standing, at least to help and support the French community, those who wanted to go back, so organizing rescue flights. But then life goes on. And in these times, usually, that's when some families with challenges, these challenges become even more accurate and even more sensitive during the pandemic.
Right.
And therefore, that's not the moment to run away. So we were opened. Then Ghana and many countries wanted to be helped in having some medications, tests, and masks, and because we were all caught in a very short notice, but even France needed cooperation from the others, bringing masks in, and in the very beginning we were completely helpless, all of us.
Right.
So we had a huge movement of international solidarity among each other, and it was not one helping the others, it was everyone helping everyone. So because we needed to redirect some funds of cooperation towards this, supporting the Noguchi Institute, for instance, in the laboratory for testing and then keeping statistics, so when this is all over, we'll be able to have a clearer view of what happened. We had to be there. So my team were here. Not all of them. What you would call non-essential, which I think is quite unfair. But because we were not receiving public, all the staff that were dedicated to welcoming people when they were coming, we thought they could stay at home. We limited at the strict minimum the coming in and out. I asked them not to take the public transports because I didn't want to have them take any risks by being every day in the middle of people. And again, I was very impressed, and I'm most grateful. For instance, the staff of the residence, because the residence like a hotel where we have receptions and things. Although we didn't have receptions, there's still a place to maintain. And the staff of the residence didn't hesitate a minute. They said, we will stay there. And they stayed over. They have little apartment flats, but that they usually use only when there's a party that finishes late, and so they can sleep over. And they stayed there for 3 weeks to keep us safe. And I must say, I'm incredibly grateful for them to have done that. The other staff, we have left them at home, but we called them regularly because we didn't want them to feel abandoned or to be worried for their jobs. And as much as we could, those who had the proper equipment could work from home.
Great. Thank you so much. So moving forward, we'd like to find out about the bilateral cooperation that exists between France and Ghana and the importance of the education sector in Ghana.
Oh, the importance of?
The importance of the cooperation that exists between us in relation to education.
Education, right.
We'd like to find out.
Gosh, that's a large question. France and Ghana have been cooperating and working closely together for years. We have archives and traces that we had a consul, and there was some French presence here, even in the 17th century. So we've always had relations. It was not a colony, but we still had close relations. We talked to Ghana for a very long time, which I agree is not consistent with the fact that most French don't really know about Ghana. But we do have a long-term relationships. We were among the first embassies who opened in 1957.
Oh, right.
Because we had a consul, so we just switched to bring an ambassador. Cooperation is not about what we would like to do, but what Ghana expresses as a need.
Oh, okay.
And you are pretty good at expressing what you need. So the areas of cooperation are actually requested by the partner, and it's mainly infrastructure, to put it in a nutshell, French language, and supporting SMEs. Development through the economic developments based on companies. So that's the main three areas. We cannot spread our interventions on too many areas. If you do something, you have to do it well. So we are working on infrastructure by funding this new agency, Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, to enable sustainable infrastructure, health and social infrastructure to be built in a proper way, in a lasting way. You don't want to build things that will be in a bad state within a few years. You need to build for the future. The second big area is education. Actually, French teaching is one big piece of it, but it's also cooperation with universities. We'll go back to French afterwards, but I'd like to state that we have more and more French universities who want to partner and twin with Ghanaian universities.
Wow.
They go regularly in Africa, and I'm not trying to flatter you at all, because they're certainly not flattering people. And they say that when they meet Ghanaian students, their level of knowledge, their skills in terms of university level is really high. And when they are welcome in a French university, they do it all. They really excel very quickly. They pick up the language just like that. So, universities, they are, in France, they are in competition with each other. So they really they all want to get the best students. And there's more and more appetite for Ghanaian students because they're serious, because they're well educated, and their background, their knowledge, when they have reached the master level, is very impressive. And they're very, very welcome, and we would like more of them to come. We've got something like 200, some of them going for a year abroad, some of them going for a few months. But they're really good.
Right.
We improve that. But what I'm happy about is that now Ghana is the #1 Anglophone country in Africa where the French students want to come.
Wow. Great.
So we place you on the map now, obviously.
So most people in France actually know about Ghana.
Well, at least students.
Right.
So they're the leaders of tomorrow. So there's the one who matter.
Right.
And I was very impressed when last year the Campus France, who is in charge of this cooperation among universities, says, guess what? This year Ghana is the #1 country, Anglophone country in Africa that French students want to go to.
Wow.
And I think that's only fair.
Yeah, that's really great information.
Yeah, that's great. That also tells that your universities are
Doing well.
judged good enough to attract those high-level students.
Right.
So this is really an area of cooperation that we really want to improve and push forward. And I mentioned SMEs. We have programs that go through the Ghanaian banks, because they're the first point of entry for an SME who is looking for a grant or a loan or some bank account or some financial support. And we are providing a few millions like a big envelope they can take from to support precisely those SMEs in all sorts of areas. Right. So, having a strong SME network is what's really important, right. And then that's how you. The state cannot do everything. Right. So we are now focusing on helping through these programs the SMEs. And then, of course, there's the French language.
Promotion of it as a second language.
So you've been bragging you speak French, so let's hear it.
Okay. Bonjour.
Well, that's good. That's a good start. Ça va, yes, ça va bien.
Je me nomme Vanessa Ado.
Enchanté.
Je travaille avec GracedLife TV en Accra. I think that's okay for now.
Well, it sounds like you've been rehearsing.
No, I haven't. No, I think, okay, so which other one can I say? Aujourd'hui, je mange pas. I haven't eaten.
Oh, wow. Can I pity you? I'm so sorry.
Right, but that's okay. So the promotion of it.
That's a good start. I mean,
we'll
I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll get there. There's lots of goodwill.
Well, maybe. Right. So the promotion of the French language as a second language for Ghanaian students, how is it now? How do we see it in the future?
You just showed how important it is.
Very.
And how easy it is.
Very.
You have a very good accent. I'm not even making fun, honestly.
Oh.
How important is it to speak French? Well, I think Ghanaians, more than anyone else, know how important it is to speak the neighbor's language.
Right.
You speak Twi, you speak Ga, you speak Hausa, you speak all sorts of different languages. And why do you do so? Because you need more bridges to reach each other. I'm trying to learn a few words of Twi. I'm hopeless. I'm even worse than you are in France, in French, right. Which actually you are very good, but my Twi is hopeless. And I'm trying with my staff sometimes, listening. But the thing is, they go from one language to the other. They always address each other in Twi, but also Ga, but also a bit of English, a bit of Pidgin, a bit. So how do you expect me to learn?
All of that?
So even by listening, I can't. But this shows that you have this ability, and from a very early age, to go from one language to the other, to adapt. So honestly, learning French for you Ghanaians should be a piece of cake. I've met some quite impressive people who are Ghanaian and who have learned French in school. And only school, not even going to France, not even going to Togo or Benin, just at school, which means you do have good teachers.
Right.
And if you're motivated, there's, of course, the curricula at school, and this is something we are heavily supporting, but also there's lots of tools. You can listen to the French radio, you are catching RFI, you can have French TV. Now with the internet, you can catch absolutely anything from anywhere. So if you want to be immersed and have the music of the language, you have many possibilities of accessing it. What we are doing is supporting, to become good, whatever you want to be good at, you need a good training, good tools, and practice. That's the key things. So we're working on those three areas.
Right.
Working on tools, so we are working on providing books, French books to teach French that are adapted to Ghana. Right. That are telling stories that will appeal to you, that will be exciting and that will tell a lot. Right. Then we are working at training teachers, and we are offering tools like the Alliance Française with a big library and media, providing on our website also all sorts of links to online services, online courses, online radio stations, where you can just, pick up, depending on your level. If you're a beginner, if you are already a professional like you sound to be, if you want to improve your writing or just your oral, you have all sorts of tools. So we're working on these 3 areas.
Which is very great. Thank you so much. And moving forward to higher education, we'd like to find out the opportunities in France for Ghanaian youth who want to further their education, maybe at the university level, at the master's or even postdoctorate level in France. What are some of the process to go through?
It's quite easy. We have an agency called Campus France. There's one antenna at UG and one at KNUST. And they will provide any information you need, depending on what subject you want to read, what level you want to attend, what kind of scholarships you could apply for. They can tell you all about it. So if you're interested in learning in France, in doing doctorate, postdoctorate, you are right in the targets that we are aiming at the moment. We really want to invest in these people. And Campus France is the place to go to know everything about the subject, depending on the subject you want to learn.
All right, great. Okay, so thank you so much, Her Excellency. We have been delighted talking to you. So
Me too.
We are so much grateful. And if you could if you could be in a room with youth, maybe 60 people who are interested in international relations and diplomacy, what would you tell them?
Honestly, international relations and diplomacy, by the time they reach the grown-up age and they are in office, it will be completely different. And it will be what we are shaping now and what they will want it to be. So, it's like when I asked my parents, what would you suggest I should do? In their generation, internet didn't exist, computers didn't exist. So they were the last person in the world who would have told me, you should go to computer science, because they just had no idea. So I believe that the tools of tomorrow, the relations of tomorrow, the world order of tomorrow, we don't know it yet. Who could have thought that COVID would suddenly have developed the distance relationship and a distance meeting? So we are adapting whatever challenges the world poses us, but I think that the youth are the ones who are going to shape the world of tomorrow. So I would probably not tell them anything, but listen to them and ask them, what's the world you are looking at? What's the world of tomorrow you are going to be living in? Because that's going to be your world. So how can we, who are today in office, in power, what can we do to make that world comfortable for you? Because it's going to be yours. I'll be gone in 50 years. I'll certainly be gone. But these guys, they will rule it.
Take over. Right. So thank you so much. We are very delighted to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the Star Sports Show. We were here with Her Excellency Anne Sophie Ave. You got the name right?
You do.
Right. And this has been the Star Sports Show. Thank you so much. The next time she joins us on the show, it will be only French. So thank you. The show comes the way same time next week. Do stay with us.